Hey guys, thanks for listening to Kinda Dating, the comedy dating podcast where influential guests and I break down the dating world and try to figure out why the do we all have commitment issues. Today's topic is relationships in theory versus real life. Let's do this. Hey, Kinda Daters. I'm Natasha Chandel. You're listening to Kinda Dating. Guys, we have an amazing guest here for you today. But before we get into it, you know what I got to ask you to do? You know, the whole thing. If you like this episode, please screenshot the episode, tag us, and tell us what you thought of it on social media. Also, follow us on socials. We're at Kinda Dating across the board. I'm at Natasha Chandel on Instagram and Facebook, Natasha.Chandel on TikTok, Natasha_Chandel on Twitter. You'll figure it out. It's all in the descriptions of this episode. And if you haven't already, leave us a 5-star rating or review. Okay, we're getting right into it because I love this guy. I'm so excited to have him. Love his work as a comedian. Also, massive wrestling fan over here. So I'm not going to act like I'm not fangirling right now, but I definitely am. Guys, he's a pro wrestler. He's an amazing actor, comedian, and podcaster himself, Jay Washington.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure out why you don't have the uniformity in names across social media. It must be a bunch of...
Because some fuck took it.
Oh, you got it. You tried to do it late. You got to hit him up like, hey, look, how much? Look, I just need this.
There's the one on Twitter annoys the shit out of me. And same thing with TikTok. It's like people who don't post at all, but they've taken the name. And I'm like,
Look, Jay Washington was a Filipino basketball player. He's not dead, but was a Filipino basketball player. I was like, I'm never going to let them confuse us. So I just took Mr. Jay Washington and put that across everything.
Yeah.
Made it so easy to forget dots and underscores and blah, blah, blah. I'm not about to go through all that.
I know, trust me. But now I've just made it as a joke. I've been like, listen, I'm your complicated friend. Relationships are complicated. I'm complicated.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think we all are complicated in relationships to an extent. Like, the statement "nobody's perfect" is the realest and truest thing. They're doing a hell of a lot of construction.
I know, right? Right outside.
Just as soon as we started, too. That's the best part. That's the part I was like...
It happens all the time. There's sirens that go off. I'm like, cool. Thank you for
at
starting
this moment,
right
perfect.
now.
Gotcha, cool. But no one's perfect, right? Mm-hmm. And to say that you'll ever have a perfect relationship, marriage, or whatever the case, you're lying to yourself, straight up. It's never going to happen. You have to learn to accept relationships in all forms and stages for the flawed institutions that they are, because they are. Look, nothing's ever going to be perfect.
It's kind of boring. I'll be honest.
And that's what I was about to say.
Boring too.
Perfect is boring because you're like, this is monotonous. It's not that you're looking for the wrong things. It's not that you're looking for arguments and fights. It's like you need something that changes it up a bit, because it's like they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? So if you were absent from your partner and you're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
That's something wrong with that. Like, you should be able to say, I'm good for maybe a couple of days or hours. But if after a while you're not like, I miss them, something's wrong.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, getting in a little tiff or an argument or whatever, it also does that you walk away and you're just like, all right, this person. Then you're like, oh, but I miss them. You're like, all right.
I think we all gonna have that, right? And then there's some people, now don't get me wrong, there's some people who start arguments to start arguments. Those people are what we like to call psychopaths. Mm-hmm. Now, we've all dealt with them. Man, woman, does not matter. All sides of the gender spectrum, whatever. But the argument also lets you know that there's still buttons on each of y'all that you each know how to push. There are times one partner knows that the other likes to start arguments, and the other was like, I know what you're doing. I'm not doing that, which will start an argument in itself. But it's all about how you come back to it, how you resolve from it. I think that goes back to relationships and stuff with COVID. When we all were locked down, the fact that the divorce rate shot through the roof because people didn't know their partners like that. Also, marriage is not an institution where you're supposed to be together 24/7, 365. And people had to stay with their partners. And they were like, oh, this is a nightmare because I get to have time away from you. That's what makes this perfect.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, it's the perfect scenario. We're just together all the time. No, it's not.
It actually kind of worked in our favor. So my partner and I met 3 weeks before the lockdowns, and we locked down together. And somehow, in some miracle, we actually really got along. But I think it's partially because we didn't try to sit with each other like all day. Like, I need this person all the time. We were actually working, and I'm a writer. So I would be
Yeah.
like in one room writing half the day, and he was working remotely for his job. So he was in another room.
So, okay.
And I think
Yeah.
like giving each other that space helped.
Right. That works. That situation works. Also, 3 weeks is wild as fuck.
Wild.
That's fucking insane.
I'm telling you.
Three-
And now we're getting married.
That must have been the greatest COVID sex ever.
I'm not gonna lie.
It had to be, because 3 weeks, the world is locking down. Can't nobody go nowhere.
Yeah.
In 3 weeks, you're like, nah, we just gonna be together.
Well, we said it wasn't like we made it official. We did talk right away and say like, hey, for safety, because we were taking it really seriously. We were like, hey, for safety, is it cool if it's just us? So we did make it exclusive right away, but we weren't like official. We were official like 6 months later.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out how the fuck this works. I'm looking like there's like a diagram in my head that's like, this don't add to this one.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I get the exclusivity part because, again, everybody trying to be safe. Well, not everybody. People with common fucking sense trying to be safe. But at that moment when you're like, we're exclusive because of the safety issues, it's pretty serious. And this is what it is at this moment.
Yeah.
Like, we're, all right, cool. This is what we're banking on. Boom. And the fact that, like you said, it's going into a marriage is surreal to hear.
Yeah.
But congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, trust me. We were literally talking about it yesterday. We were walking. We were like, man, is this what we expected? We were like, we went on a Hinge date, and then, but yes, our second date, both of us separately felt like, oh, damn, there's something special, but didn't anticipate any of that happening, And then you lock down and all this shit happens. And then I always say it's a miracle we got along, because two strangers getting along in that environment with the world falling apart,
pandemic,
is a miracle. And so then that was just luck and whatever. But it actually brings us back also to this topic, because we're talking about like relationships in theory versus in real life, right? Like, in theory, you should not have done these things, right? Like, we should not have locked down because you should not move so quickly with somebody in theory. But in real life, like, what the fuck were we going to do? We really liked each other, and there was a fucking pandemic, and we talked about it. And we were
I think that's the thing too. Like, it also lends itself to maturity levels and age, if you will. 100%. You get people who after
you trying to call me old?
Mentally, yes. Do you see how I did that? Mentally, yes. Because after a certain age, in your mid-30s and above, you realize, I don't want to play games in a sense. Yeah. So if you vibe with somebody, you're like, this is what this is going to be. Either we're going to potentially take this serious or not. Now, there are people over 30 and whatnot that are still trying to play the field and do a bunch of dumb shit. But it's all about like, yo, if I'm meeting somebody, I'm vibing with them, I'm clicking with them, and okay, let's see what happens. Because the worst thing that could have happened, aside both of y'all getting COVID and dying, the worst thing that could have happened would have been, okay, we realize this isn't going to work with us together. Mm-hmm. And then it splits. Yeah. And then you realize, because it's like, look, we're together a month. Okay, cool. Second month, oh, there's some kinks or twerks or things, little twerk things you do, little quirks you do that I'm like, I'm not for it.
Yeah.
Little icks. But when you start feel like I can navigate through these, that says something. And so, the fact it started from a Hinge date, you all are perfect for the commercial. I swear.
I was like, this guy should sponsor this fucking podcast at this point.
It's clearly like I have a Hinge story that I talk about on stage now, and it is the reason why I deleted the app and will never do it again.
Oh, damn. Ever. That bad?
Ever.
Oh, my gosh.
I
feel like a bunch of my friends actually like Hinge. They've said that they have a better experience with that. Oh, really? Oh, my gosh. I don't want you to give away your bit, but tell me. I want to know.
So I was on Hinge.
Firstly, wait a minute. Look, we never even got into this. Are you single or in a relationship?
I am single.
Okay.
I am single, unfortunately, right. I feel like.
No,
here's why I say unfortunately. I say unfortunately knowing the person that I am, the qualities I possess, and the heart that I have. I say unfortunately, especially navigating. I've just recently started saying this even on stage. I hated the dating in LA trope. I hated saying it. I hated talking about it because you heard it so much until I've experienced it on a myriad of levels, not a variety, a myriad of levels. And I mean, just, you're like, this is ass.
Yeah.
And so
Which tropes were relevant for
so I
you?
thought, oh, people just being crazy, whatever. Everybody has their mental hiccups, whatever. Therapy's a good thing to go to. Believe me, I do
We
it
talk about it all the time.
all the time. So that people who are very superficial, people who are trying to just get something out of it career wise. I've met people who, because they've met me and then they've seen people who talk to me different ways, they assume that my career is higher than what it is, which I don't mind that in a sense. Sometimes, have this perception of that I'm doing way more.
Yeah.
But when you think that, oh, that's the reason I'm gonna latch on to him because I'll have something to, no. And I never want anybody to feel that way.
Nope.
Like, I don't want to latch on to my partner, whatever she may do. I've dated women who were on TV shows and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, it's cool. I don't care what you
That's
do.
not the thing. Yeah.
Like, and the one relationship I had, she was on a pretty successful show. She was one of the stars of the show, was on for like 7 years.
Wow.
And so people were like, yo.
Meghan Markle.
Absolutely not. I wish I'd have she probably wouldn't be with Harry right now. Who knows? No, but like everybody was like, how are you with her? And I'm like, well, we cool. We clicked and all of a sudden the third, but then I realized, oh, she's batshit crazy.
Oh.
But you hear all these different tropes. People are selfish. They only want one thing, et cetera, et cetera. There's a list that goes on. And just trying to have a regular conversation with some people is the most difficult thing to do out here.
Do you date people in the industry or out?
I've tried to do both. And the reason I've tried to do in the industry, because of my schedule in my life, and I say that as somebody who damn near every night is working. Even if I'm only out for a couple hours, I'm working. I'm on the road. I'm doing these different things. My hands are in different pots. So I would like to have someone who has this understanding of that. So it's not like, oh, I'm just trying to be avoidant. You can date people outside the industry, but sometimes they'll be like, I'm cool with it. And I've had this happen where I'm cool with it until they realize they're not the focal point. And so it's like, I don't want to ever want anybody to feel like you're not important. But if I'm working, that must be a trait that attracted you to me because I'm a hard worker. I'm dedicated to my job. Granted, I know some people are like, well, you can work your way out of a relationship. I've seen that happen to many people.
Yeah.
But as someone who is, okay, this is my job as a performer, first and foremost, I'm a performer, which requires me being out around people, being out late at night, interacting with people, odd schedules, getting booked last minute a lot of time. Now, granted, if I'm in a relationship with a woman and we got plans, the only way I'm canceling those plans for work is it has to be an absurdly amount of money that both of us would be stupid to say no about.
Yeah.
If it ain't no, hey, you want to come jump on the show real quick? Nah, I'm good. I'm busy. I can't do it.
Of course.
Hey, I got $7,000 for you to do 10 minutes real quick. Hey, listen, we're going to reschedule this because I'm going to go do these 10 minutes.
And I'll put some of that 7,000 back into our relationship.
It's going back into our relationship immediately.
Yeah.
So those type of things.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So you were about to say this Hinge date that you had.
So I met a girl on Hinge. We were talking. And it was cool. We were, we're conversing back and forth through the app, and like, hey, you want to text me? Text me, fine. Boom. One day she hits me up on like a Tuesday morning. She's like, hey, what you doing? I was like, nothing. I think I was sitting up emailing people like I do damn near every day. She was like, oh, you want to come by the house later? I was like, sure. And I was like, hey, I say this in a joke. I was like, sure, give me some brunch time, vagina. I'm game for it. So she's like, come by noon. Cool. I go to the house by noon. I'm driving. I'm happy. Hands are 10 and 2. I'm excited. Get there, call her, I let her know my front. She comes to meet me in the front. We walk to the back, walk in. I look around. It's a bunch of unassembled IKEA furniture everywhere. I was like, this bitch done set me up.
Oh, no.
She was like, just have a seat. Don't worry about all that. Cool. Bet. She starts telling me how the night before she had to console her best friend who had to put her dog down. I was like, that's fucked up. She's like, yeah, she was real sad. And, I stayed with her most of the night. And she didn't know what to give me. And so she gave me this, and I'm going to take a hit. Do you mind? She pulled out a bag of cocaine. I was like, I personally don't care. Do what you do. That's not on me. But also, it is 12 o'clock, bitch. We are in your house. Don't you have some coffee or a Red Bull you can take? Yeah. This is really bad decisions. She's like, don't worry about it. I'm only going to take one. All right, fine. Should have known that wasn't the case. 30 minutes later, I was looking out her window. I remember out her back window, I saw a hawk on the fence. I have never seen a hawk in real life. I am from the south side of Chicago. I have felt a hawk, never seen a hawk.
Wow.
I was like, yo, this is amazing. It's crown, wings, et cetera, et cetera. Out the peripheral, she's taking another bump. What the fuck happened to one? She's taking bumps in 30 to 45-minute intervals the whole time. So about 2:45, I was like, well, I'm not having sex nor nothing. I'm going to go home before rush hour traffic.
Yeah.
So I'm driving in traffic, angry. We go past. She hits me up the next Wednesday. Hey, what you doing? Shit, I'm at home. She's like, we should see each other. And I was like, well, should we? She's like, yeah, but how about I come over to your place? I was like, well, in my head, I'm like, well, I ain't got no cocaine here, so we good. She's like, I come over about 5. Cool. Comes over, comes up to the apartment, comes sit down, whatever. We talking. Now, a couple days prior, we had a whole bunch of rain and shit in Los Angeles. So, like, if you got allergies and stuff like that, it flares up. She sniffled a little bit. I was like, all right, maybe she got allergies. Cool. So she sniffed again. I was like, yo, do you need a Claritin? I got some Claritin for the allergies. She's like, no, I'm good. Cool. Okay. 10 minutes later, she's still sniffling. I said, yo, you okay? You got a cold? She was like, no. I was like, do you got COVID? She's like, no. I said, what the? At one point, we were actually lying in my bed and she was sniffling again. I was like, yo, what's going on with the sniffles?
Yeah.
She was like, well, I didn't want to tell you this, but remember that thing I told you my friend gave me last week? She's like, I still had a little bit of it left over, and I took a bump before I came inside, and I didn't want to tell you, excuse me, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you to think I was a cokehead. I'm like, that's exactly what the fuck you are.
That's literally what.
Also, with the level of bump she was taking when I saw you last, that's not the same bag. You've re-upped bags. I feel like if this is a relationship, I got to mark your bags of cocaine on the tip with a felt pen like I'm a DEA agent. This is JW marking this on 7/6 at 12:15. This is her cocaine. Like, I don't try. Then she was like, well, do you want to go with me to pick up this dresser from this dude I met on OfferUp? Absolutely no.
No.
She was like, why not? I was like, because you're a white woman on random cocaine and it's how every Lifetime movie starts and I don't end up good in this. So she left. She was like, well, what do you think I should do? I was like, I think you should leave and I'm going to delete this app right in front of you. And I never downloaded it.
Wait, but wait a minute. Okay. Did you put the thing on the app where did she put on her profile that she did hard drugs?
No.
Well, she's just a lying bitch. Because usually,
there's a thing you can put that on a profile.
Yeah, so on Hinge, it has like hard drugs, yes, no, whatever it is.
It's gonna openly admit, yeah, I do cocaine because the day in their
Well,
life.
they won't say cocaine, but they'll say hard drugs.
Oh,
and then
okay.
you can decide if that's like, because I'm not about it because I also dated somebody in the past that then, did some shit because they got on cocaine. And I was like, listen, I can't deal with this.
That is like,
I just don't have time to deal with it. So
yeah, I don't.
I was like, you do you. I have no judgment, but it's not my lifestyle. Yeah. And then it ruined our relationship. And I was like, I don't have time for it. So after that, I was very like, no hard drugs. But man, I'm sorry you had that experience.
Yeah, I had that. And I was like, I'm good on that. And so that was my Hinge situation. But like dating out here also, I've also been very open and honest and candid about my experiences because as a bigger dude, it has been very difficult to date out here because that is a thing that goes into the relationships in theory versus real life. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of women want the guys they see on TV, the models, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Or a lot of guys I know that want the girls like that too. Yeah. But then you complain that they're all the same you're dealing with. Yeah. And they never seem to recognize the pattern, men nor women seem to recognize that pattern they put themselves into. So it's like, yeah, I know, when there's this thing of, when guys say they're a good person, it's typically because they're not. I always say I have a great heart to eliminate that stigma.
Yeah.
And anybody who's ever known me has always said, like, it's surreal that you're single. And I'm like, look, I guess I'll be single as long as I'm out here in Los Angeles, unfortunately, because I've tried this dating thing and it's never gone my way. Like, do I have some of my own hiccups? Absolutely.
Everybody does.
Everybody does. But also a lot of my hiccups I have and have had, I've mitigated and still deal with through therapy, ladies and gentlemen. That's a thing.
It's a big thing. Listen, you should just put you do therapy on your profile and you would get a lot of fucking people because women are always like, I won't date a guy unless he does therapy.
I've been in therapy for 7 years.
That's great.
Because I had a lot I had to process and deal with within myself through my past, to a lot of self-esteem things, a lot of anger issues, a lot of trust issues, a lot of trust within myself, et cetera, et cetera. And I've dealt with a lot of them and I'm still dealing with some.
Yeah.
And so I've had friends who've been like, I don't get that. I dated somebody who we were talking for a while and we broke up because she was like, I think I'm more emotionally unavailable for this. And I was like, well, I'm going to therapy for the both of us. Now what? Because I was willing to put forth that effort. And that kind of really broke me because she was one of the first people who had actually managed to get in my heart for the first
Mm,
time in 6.5 years.
I'm
And that
sorry.
really broke me. And
I'm
this is
sorry.
recent.
Oh, I'm so
This is within the
sorry.
past like 2 years, bro.
Mm.
Like for 6 years, nobody had gotten in my heart like that. And so it was all I did was once that happened, I was depressed again and went into my depression, which I battled with a lot. And then I just focused back into work. And I just stopped trying to look for people. I've met people. I've had the situation where, again, theory versus real life. I've met women who are, by all intents and purposes, beautiful. That I was like, I shouldn't be talking to. We'll be at a party, talking, chilling,
Mhm.
smiling, laughing, joking, et cetera, et cetera. I realized no matter how much riz, game, or fun you have with a woman in LA, you will never be better than a reality show white dude with loose cocaine. You will never be better.
I'll say this, and I want to challenge
Go ahead.
you because the same way that I challenge all my friends, and I've challenged myself, right, over
Hmm.
the years. Like I had the same experiences before where I met the LA guy, and I was like, I don't really fit in here. I don't, I'm
Hmm.
an East Coaster. I'm not from California. I'm Indian. I was born in Dubai. Like I'm not
Chicago boy.
American even.
Chicago
Yeah,
boy.
I'm not even American. So it took me a long time to even fit in and
Mm,
understand American culture because it's just like Canadians we're a little different. We don't play
mm.
as many games. At
Right.
least when I was there, we didn't. Um, and it took me a long time to break into like realizing, well, there if I exist here, there must be other people like me who exist. But then I have to change my choices because I'm the only constant in my life. Like
Right.
I just can't keep at some point going, it's everybody else. I had to be like, all right, that means quality versus quantity. So if that means I'm dating less people because I'm 10 times pickier, okay, cool. Because I just now want to focus on people who get me closer to what I'm actually looking
Mhm.
for rather than the same bullshit,
So not even to challenge it, to embrace your challenge.
Yeah.
I've done that already.
Yeah, that's good.
I've done that where it's like, all right, I'm at a point now where I don't try to serial date
Yeah.
like a lot of people do. I'm at a point where I honestly stopped looking.
Good. I mean, yeah, because like sometimes it just has to
It has to
happen. It
happen.
just has to happen.
So I'd rather let people come into, if you come into my life and we vibe and we rock in seemingly a certain way, cool. If not, cool. There's someone who I'm talking to now, and I had to make sure I had to pull myself away because she's in the industry as well. And it would always be a flirtatious thing amongst the
Mhm.
two of us. And then one day it was like, yo, let's just go out and just have a drink and talk. We've never had a chance to just sit and talk
Mhm.
outside of everything. I remember she was like, well, I don't want to be around no comedy. I said, I don't either. I said, that's why I'm trying to pull you from that. So we go, we talk, hang out. We actually start to vibe. Cool. Had a little make out kissing thing afterwards. She's like, yeah, let's do this again. Cool, perfect. We see each other. We start hanging out. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, I think I'm too busy for this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, whoa, why does that sound like something I would say? But I realized that would sound like something I would say, but I also said, yeah, I'm busy too. But to step on me saying that, I was like, also, I make time with what I want to make time for.
Mhm.
I've always been that person. I can have a schedule that has me going from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, 5 to 6 days a week. I promise you, if I need to take 2, 3 hours out for somebody else, I can do it with
Of
no
course.
problem. And so we would go back and forth with this. She was like, well, I don't know. That's why I think because I'm kind of trying to be busy, I don't want to deal with a relationship. But I said, fine. But also realized too, I guess her last ex must have messed her up bad.
Mm.
That's fine. Some people carry that residual over. But also don't when you see me want to be up under me and all these things. Hold up on me like you want to be like this relationship type thing. But then you give this vibe off and then you texting me and calling me. I'm like, let me pull back because I don't want to get myself wrapped into something where I'm feeling terrible again.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, we have said this. I don't think I've said this to you guys in a while, friends. But there's a Maya Angelou quote, but it says, when someone shows you who they are,
The first time, believe them.
the first
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
And often I have a theory where I go, you can find out the exact problem in your relationship, usually on your first date, but almost most likely in your first week of dating somebody. So somebody will drop a hint of wherever they're at in their life. So they'll say things like, oh, I'm really busy. And that's them telling you, I won't always be able to be there for you. But we're always like, oh, yeah, it's okay. Like I'm also busy. I'm also all these things. But it's like, no. They're hinting something at you.
I wish I would have looked at it that way.
No, most of us don't, right? Most of us, I mean, I've gotten myself into so many things. And then later I was like, oh, but they told me that. And I'm just saying this to listeners so that they can identify it when they're hearing it from your story, go like, oh, that person was literally saying, I am not available. So I actually want to bring it back to one thing where you were talking about therapy and you've been in it, and you said that you dated a couple people. Like one woman said to you, the person that your last one in the last 2 years said to you that they were emotionally unavailable. One thing that has been kind of a new trend is something called therapy speak, right? Part of what we're talking about here is like relationships in theory versus real life, where everybody thinks that if you follow some formula, because I know so much about therapy now, that my relationship will go perfectly.
Yes.
I just had a really good friend whose relationship, they were together 7 years. And they recently broke up, blindsided. One partner cheated. And my friend who did not cheat was the one who was like, I don't understand. Like, I did everything. I did check-ins all the time. I did, like, we communicated. We did, and I felt like he felt like he was following all the rules. And the person
broke the rules.
And he was like, I just don't understand. And I was like, yeah, because life doesn't go according to plan.
There's a movie called Two Can Play That Game with Vivica A. Fox. So old school movies. Vivica A. Fox, Morris Chestnut, Anthony Anderson, Monique, Wendy Raquel Robinson, Bobby Brown. It's a bunch of them. It's a 90s movie. And Vivica A. Fox plays a woman named Shantae Smith. Shantae has a breakup with her boyfriend Keith, played by Morris Chestnut. And Shantae tries to use rules to say if you want to get your partner back. Keith has his friend played by Anthony Anderson who's like, here's my set of rules that he doesn't know she's playing by a set of rules. And it gets to a point where Keith, Morris Chestnut's character, is like, there are no rules in this. This is my life. There's no game. And then she had to learn that too. So it definitely speaks to what you just said.
Yeah. And also now, like, I'm curious if you've experienced this with people you're dating, is like, everybody thinks that they're an expert. So everybody is like, it's literally called therapy speak or psychobabble, which is where people start using therapy terms, but they have no fucking idea what they're talking about.
Because now therapy, instead of it being an actual thing people use to work on themselves and better themselves in many cases, it's become this badge, like a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout. I'm in therapy. I'm at this level of therapy. Look, I tell people I've been in it so long because there was such a stigma that dudes don't do it. My badge is saying, no, I'm in it. I take advantage of all the tools I've learned. I utilize it. I've bettered myself. Do I make myself better than anyone else? Absolutely the fuck not. But there are so many people who are like, I'm in therapy. It's like, no one.
Yep.
Calm down.
Yeah. No, it's really true. And most people don't even know what they're talking about when it comes to therapy, right? I do think part of the problem is that we're in a TikTok generation. Everybody has access to information in a way that they never had before.
I'm tired of TikTok fucking therapists.
I know.
Listen, if you are an actual therapist with an actual licensed practicing therapist, that is fine to sit there and say, here's a suggestion, but you are not giving real help via TikTok. Well, I saw this one TikTok that told me if I do this and do this, now I have my leg. I hope you burn in flames from Charmin tissue. Like, that was the soft version. But like,
you don't have to be soft on the show at all.
No, that was just me not going as fully angry as I want to. Because it's like, there are certain things of advice you can get, but when people take it as law, people take TikTokers and some Instagrammers as dogmatic law when they're giving like, well, this is a therapist, I see this. Look, therapists will tell you they've seen these situations. They've dealt with people in relationships, but that does not mean it automatically applies to your situation because you are not the party involved.
And also now everybody thinks that because they don't understand the entire situation that's being like spoken about in a TikTok. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I know what toxic means. You know, you're toxic. This guy's a narcissist. They're gaslighting
Oh, my
me. This
Jesus
is
Christ.
you know, this is my attachment
I'm so
style.
glad I'm
I'm
doing this
codependent.
podcast.
I'm triggered. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many of these terms that people are throwing around. And it bothers somebody like me who's actually been in, I was in an actual abusive relationship. Where I literally, that was my start of therapy. I broke down. I was broken because it was physical, mental, and emotional abuse. And that person was an actual narcissist. They were an actual abuser. They gave me actual trauma. And when people and they actually gaslit me,
Yeah.
where they were this guy was cheating on me with 7, 8 people that I could count, and was living with me. You know, would come to my house, disappear for hours, sometimes days, and then I would be like, "Hey, where were you?" And he'd be like, "What do you mean? I was there the whole time." And I was like, "No." I talked to people, and he was like, "You're crazy." But that wasn't just once, twice, 3. It was a year of that. That's gaslighting.
Yes.
But people don't understand because they're like, you're gaslighting me because you're making it seem like I'm a problem. I'm like, that's not gaslighting. That's just somebody being a dick in that moment. But gaslighting is like an actual manipulative behavior that is repetitive, that is abusive. And so, you know, sometimes when you hear of these things, I do get a little frustrated because everybody thinks everybody's a narcissist. I'm like, you don't know.
You have no idea what a narcissist is.
A real narcissist will drive you
insane.
Like
insane. A lot of people have you are 1,000% on the head. People use these terms so interchangeably because they've become part of the regular lexicon of our vocabulary, and they're part of the daily zeitgeist. And so people just say this shit repeatedly. And it's like, that's not what this is. That's what you want to make it to be. So you formulate it so it fits you to be that, but it's not that. Like you said, it's all psychobabble. It's all this, well, I know what these terms are. I've heard these terms, so this must be that. And it's not.
No, it's exactly it. And look, I used to be guilty of less of the psychobabble stuff, but more of what my friend did of, you know, trying to follow rules in a relationship and thinking that was gonna lead to better results. My ex that I was living with, not the abusive one, but there was another one. And because I had gone through the abusive thing and I had gone through so much therapy, I became really scared of ever going through that again. So I really, really, really used therapy as like, I was like, I'm gonna learn everything, you know? And I did. I had this great toolkit, but then I overused it and I didn't know where to use what. And so I just thought, okay, the way to avoid is to be ahead of it.
Yeah.
And so to be ahead of it, I had like, this is all the things we're going to do. And, you know, they say communication is key. So I would tell him everything and I would expect him to tell me everything. What did you have for lunch today? Where'd you go? How'd you do? I just thought it was us being an open book, but that was actually controlling. It was actually trying to
manipulate it.
Yeah. And also like know everything. I thought like, and he did too in his own way. We were just like too open with each other. And then I would be like, hey, I'm doing all these check-ins with you. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? And he was like, everything's good. And I was just like, okay. And it wasn't good. He ended up cheating on me with grandmas, which is a whole thing in my set. I know. Just let's sit with that for 1 minute. Yeah. So that's a whole thing.
He was out here trying to get pussy and peanut brittle.
Yeah,
All right. Okay.
Literally. Gilfs, man. But I realized much later that I was trying to control this so badly so that I wouldn't get hurt. And I think that's oftentimes what is driving us to over-intellectualize, over-theorize relationships, you know, over-therapize our own relationships.
Yeah.
Where we're trying to like ensure we never feel pain.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And I know everybody listening will say that no one wants to feel pain with a relationship. That's the last thing you want. I get that, but pain is it's inevitable.
And it actually sometimes makes you stronger. It makes you better.
Stronger.
It's necessary.
And it's not saying being a masochist to where you're looking for the pain, But there are levels to pain, first of all, and there are ways to deal with all of those. You can't avoid them and try to just not make it happen. You can't just say, if I do all of this, this won't happen, because to an extent, you're causing yourself pain doing that. Whew.
Right. But every, people forget that like Buddhism, every spiritual book says life is suffering. But this says life. It doesn't mean life is like this long thing that you're gonna live. It actually is saying life as an experience is suffering, because good things also come out of suffering. Like as
Yeah.
children, they actually give the example, like even from birth, you are coming out from suffering. Like it's a real process
For a
a
woman,
baby
yeah,
to
be
like
born.
be pushed out of a womb.
Which I've watched twice. And
Oh my good Lord.
Lord Jesus. Well, actually I watched once. The son was born via C-section. My daughter was born naturally. And I thought I was going to be a G and record that shit. And
I have never, I can't, that's one thing I can't watch it. I can't watch I can't watch it on TV. I'm like, I would never want my partner in a room. I'm like, I'm good.
I told my daughter's mom, I'll never forget. I was like, yo, you're strong. You can do this. She said, if you don't get the fuck away from me. I said, yep. You know what?
You're like, bite. See ya.
That was deserved.
Yeah. That's so funny. But why do you think we do these kinds of things? Like, why do you think we have this mental concept of what relationships are and can't accept what it is in real life?
There's a small list of things. Number one, it's what we've been experienced to in our personal lives. Some people have had relationships where they're seeing their parents or grandparents married or whatever, 30, 40, 50 years. This to them is perfect. Not knowing what has gone on. Relationships back in the day that are the ones that are now 50 years old, you many times have had the partners have other families. There's been all type of abuse, et cetera, but they've pushed through. There was nothing else they could do, unfortunately, at that time. Or you have the reverse, because they've had those parents and grandparents who consistently were divorced, never happy. They were in multiple relationships and jumping around. Television, social media, all that encompasses into one. They give us these perceptions of what a perfect relationship is. We're constantly plastered with, look at these hot couples that are in love. Look at these beautiful people that are together. You don't see regular people plastered together for anybody. People will say, well, look at Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. Both of them are famous.
And they're about to break up.
And they're about to break up regardless. But they're famous. So people can say, well, he's a regular. They're famous. Yeah. He's an Oscar winner. That's the closest to real life. You don't see real people.
Yeah.
So the reason we have these perceptions of what relationships should be is all the things we're inundated with consistently. Look, I would rather base off my relationship standards off of the people I am around the most. Now, yes, can that be a grandparent? Can that be a parent? Yes. But if I'm looking at friends your friends are pretty much representative of you, right? You're only going to hang with people that you vibe with. You guys are similar in a sense. So I look at your relationship track record. Okay, cool. I have one of my best friends back home, used to be married to a beautiful woman. She loved him immensely. They were swingers at a point, but he was kind of an asshole. He did a lot of things. They ended up divorcing. She married one of the dudes they were swinging with, which I was like, that is irony in its fucking self. But I don't ever see myself wanting to be like that. I have another friend. He was married. He had 2 kids, and all of a sudden, they split up because he cheated. I don't want to be that. Now, am I saying I'm perfect in relationships? No, my daughter's mom and I were together before our daughter came along. She got pregnant. And in the process, I was slowly starting to elevate a career. I met a woman who told me she could help advance my career. And I saw the connection she had in the entertainment industry in Chicago. My dumb ass fell into that, cheated. I openly admit that I have finally, over the past 3 years, reconciled that because it ate at me so much.
Yeah.
And I lost the best person I've probably ever had in my daughter's mom. I'll admit that. Will I ever get her back? Absolutely not. She'd rather jump in traffic before we together again. Fine. But it's things you see and do. I didn't want to be like them cheating or doing things. I allow my own stupidity to make that happen. We think relationships based off of what we're put in front of us.
And also we tell ourselves these thoughts, right? That I will never cheat. Or this is one. People go, here's a theory, right? A concept that we have embraced. Well, if you were gonna cheat, I will call them and break up first. And I always tell everybody, I'm like, you don't know what you will do in a situation. And I think as someone who has had a lot of relationships and had so many crazy things happen in my life, and life not going according to plan, that I've learned there is zero. So now I'm getting married, and I literally always say, I have no idea how we will end. I was like, right now it is good. I have no idea where life will go. If tomorrow he acts like a fool, I act like a fool, we're not going to be together. That's life. But I have I'm now not doing this like, well, because we did this is how it's going to work out. I was like, I have no idea how it's going to work out.
I was at a comedy show recently, and a friend of mine, and we were on the show, and he told me before the show, he was like, hey, this girl that met me at a show previously is coming with her friend. If you want to hang out, let me know afterwards. I was like, well, I don't have shit else to do. We're hanging out. He's talking to her. I'm talking to her friend. Her friend and I we're vibing. We're having a great conversation. It gets a little bit flirty. I'm like, all right, let me just pull back. I tell people all the time, I'm the most oblivious dude on this planet now. You can be flirting with me and I would have no motherfucking idea. You have to literally say, I am flirting with you because I don't ever want to take shit the wrong way. Because I know that you hear so many times, I'm just being nice.
Yeah.
I'm just being nice. I'm like, hey, you got to tell me, I'm planning on showing you some titties. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
But we're talking, we're flirting, gets real close. Then all of a sudden, someone said, yo, because she asked me, she's like, I'm surprised you don't have a girlfriend or anything, blah, 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 blah. I tell her my situation, I don't have anybody. I was like, I'm surprised you don't have somebody. She was like, well, I do, kind of. It's not going well. I kind of want to get out of it. So I bring that up to say, in that moment, there's this, you want to do other things, but you're still fighting your relationship. People don't know how they'll respond in the moment. Now am I like, yo, do I respect your relationship? I have no stake in that game either way. I'm just here chilling, having a good time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But that's the thing is like, we don't know what we will do when we actually face the problem. And this brings me back to what you said earlier, which is what therapy actually should do for people, which is build a toolkit.
Yes.
So it's not for us to know these terms and identify and live life according to a therapy textbook, a psychology textbook. It's really about building this toolkit, which is literally like, think about it, guys, as an actual toolkit, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're building furniture and you need a screwdriver, but sometimes you need a wrench.
Or you need an Allen wrench and you have 97,000 of them available.
And you're like, which one? So many. I have so many Allen wrenches. Man, it's so
we all
annoying.
do. Look, let me tell you something. You look at a drawer, you be like, and they're all different sizes.
Yeah, they're all like, one's this, one's tiny.
One's bigger. You're like,
what the fuck?
You don't even remember what they went to. You just know you got it. Here's the thing I've learned too. This is the thing when I didn't even learn. This thing I just thought about with what our conversation is. I want to meet the person who is about to cheat and say, hold on before I stick this in.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, listen, it's over. I'm finna fuck. Talk to you later. Nobody's ever done it.
Ever gonna do
Nobody's
that.
ever gonna do that.
I haven't cheated, and I always say, I don't know, I'll never say never, because I have no idea what I would do in that actual situation.
I don't think you're gonna grab your phone.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's grabbing their phone. Man, woman, however you want to fucking identify, is gonna grab their phone and call their partner immediately in that moment and say, yo, it's done. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you though, I did once try to make a guy do that because he was about to cheat. And I was like, but he was like, no, this thing I'm in, it's not serious. And I was like, cool, you want to message her and say that you're hanging out with somebody else then? Because I don't want fucking karma on me. And it like blew up because
Let me tell you something. Tell you something. Hold on. If I was in a relationship and somebody's like, hey, so you want to call your person, you know what? You be blessed. Have a good evening.
That's what ended up happening because I was like, I'm not putting this shit on my karma.
Because that's weird to have somebody say, so before we do this, you want to call them and you want to get the confirmation?
Well, I wasn't going to do it. That's why. I was trying to get out of it. And this person
Oh.
was pushing me. And I was like, yo, I have a feeling that
Okay,
you
so
are
that's a
about to
different
cheat. And
like,
I was like, I'm a girl's girl, so I'm not going to be the other woman to another woman.
that makes sense. Now, granted, because there's a lot of people now who, you ever notice recently, the way that people get down to cheating is to just try to identify as polyamorous.
Oh, yeah.
It is
yeah,
look, there are some people who are legitimately polyamorous.
Yep.
They have been. One of my good friends has been.
Yeah, we've had lots of people on the show who are
This is what they are.
Yeah.
Boom. But now it is the quickest way for them to be like, I mean, I'm not cheating, I'm poly.
Yeah.
But like, did your partner know?
Yeah.
I think they do. That's not.
Yeah, no, that's not ethical
That's
non-monogamy.
it's not ethical non-monogamy at all.
Yeah. But I think like coming back to it, it's like, I do think it's important for people to realize like if you are, there are good concepts to relationships.
Yes.
There are good lessons to be learned from therapy. But I think the idea is build a toolkit because I'm sure you know now, hey, when I'm going through this scenario, this is the thing I need to take out of my toolkit and apply it here. This is what I have to apply to this next situation. But in between, you got to like let life happen.
Yes.
Because firstly, it's so annoying and exhausting to try to control every minute.
That's why I see
your
people,
relationship.
I see people who have all the dating apps on their phone consistently, and that's all they do all the time. And I understand you want to be with someone, you may want a partner. I know I do, but to have that here and this is all you're doing, then you're trying to control life. And you're not allowing yourself to live. You're trying to control how you find somebody, when you find somebody, where you find somebody, instead of letting life say, here's a person. And the tools in there, for instance, a lot of people don't want to admit that they're codependent.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who need to be with somebody. And I think that's another thing therapy I'm grateful for has taught me. I don't need to be, I want to be with someone.
Yeah. And even codependency is one that I just want to point out to people is like so misunderstood.
Yes.
Because people think codependency is like what the word suggests, which is two people who need each other, right? They need each other to exist. But the actual core thing of codependency is that it's not just that you need somebody else, it's to avoid yourself.
To avoid yourself.
So you are focusing on somebody else to avoid dealing with yourself.
Which is what I tell somebody for me, case in point. I have been officially single. I've been out here, it'll be 9 years. My daughter's mom and I broke up my second year out here. So I've been single now, let's see, going on 6, 7, 8 years. It's been 3, like in that time, I'm like, all right, I want to be with somebody now. I've got used to be single. Yeah, dating is one thing. I've never been in an official relationship. I don't need anybody. I need to learn to sleep sometimes. But yeah, I think people forget that part because I've learned to accept myself and be with myself, be around myself. This was the hardest thing for me I've ever had to learn inside and outside of dating. Learning to be with my thoughts.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I came out of my abusive relationship, that's what I did, is because I realized I stayed in something that I shouldn't have because I didn't want to be alone. So then literally I trained myself to be alone. And I was like, so I think it was called, and I didn't even realize it. Now they have a fucking term for it. It's called rejection therapy. But it's this idea of training yourself to be rejected so that you don't fear rejection anymore. That's not what I was trying to do.
I think I'm a part of that shit.
Yeah, I was like, I was just trying to learn to be alone, be with myself.
I've been shot down and rejected so much in this fucking city is why
But it's like because of that, people are scared to like go out to like a movie by themselves, to eat by themselves. I started forcing myself to do that. I went to movies by myself in New York City. I sat by myself in New York City and ate at a restaurant. You know, I purposely did things by myself to go, I want to learn to firstly stop being uncomfortable of people's thoughts, like, oh, they're judging me. Who gives a f? And 2, to learn to be alone and love being alone so that I'm not being with somebody just so that they fill a need.
Right.
You know? And it was hard. It was hard at first. And then I loved it. Then I was like, oh man, I really love me. And it's nice having some quiet time, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying. I've been doing that a lot now, because for a while I just couldn't sit by myself. I would always have to be doing something. I couldn't just sit. Sitting in silence was the worst thing for me ever.
Because your thoughts.
This brain consistently goes, not just as a creative and as just a very vivid imaginary person. My imagination is immaculate. And so my brain will keep producing things. And it wasn't until recently I was able to just sit with those thoughts to let them be and be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
One of the hardest things I had to do dealing with rejection, trying to date out here a lot. I don't know how many people may have come on here and said this. The hardest thing that has ever been for me to do, and I don't know if I said this ever publicly, to be honest, was stare myself in the mirror.
Ooh.
People say they look at themselves in the mirror all the time. Yeah, you can look at yourself in the mirror when you brush your teeth, wash your face, et cetera, shave or whatever. But to look yourself in the eye in the mirror is not a simple thing.
Mm-mm.
I challenge anybody listening to this to try to do it and just be open to what you see.
Mm-hmm.
I did it dealing with a lot of rejection from dating, just the loneliness I felt and whatnot. And I actually sat back and I cried because I knew that was the hurt that I was trying to hide so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I then learning how to like, all right, now can you do that? I'm at a point now where I can look myself in my eye, like, yo, we're doing good. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
As long as I can tell myself that we're good, not no long drawn out diatribe. We're good. Let's go.
I love that. That's awesome. I don't even want to fuck with that
I mean,
moment.
it's just a real
But
thing.
it was it's very poignant what you said. And the hardest part for us to face is ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Always in the process. And that's what I'm saying is it's hard for people to remember that the only constant in your life is you. And the closer you get to yourself, the stronger you will actually be.
Yeah.
Because we do not control anyone else. We don't control the world. We don't control others. So as much as you can like try to again theorize things and go, this is, if we follow all this way of life or these set of rules, life will go this way. It won't. But what you do control is yourself, and in those moments to try to do the best that you can do.
Yeah.
And then trust the outcome of what that is.
Yeah.
And that is what leads me to sort of my last question to you is, how do we sort of let go and let life happen? Like, how have you kind of done that for yourself?
Releasing expectations. When you expect something to happen in a certain way with a certain person, with a certain type, you're setting yourself up for failure immediately because you're painting a picture in your head with these expectations, whether you realize it or not. So when you just let life happen, there are no expectations. There is no picture. There is no, this is the path I see it going down because you don't know. There is no, this is where I see this blooming and being. You have no idea. This is how I see me ending up with this person. You don't know who that person is. So if you just release all the expectations, just let life be life. Let it do what it's going to do. There's going to be ups and downs, heartaches and pains, all those things. But release the expectation that you're going to go through good or bad. Because if you expect everything's going to be good, it's not. If you expect everything is going to be bad, it probably won't, and it probably will. Just let the expectations go. Release them. Just be. For me, it's just been, if you ask me, Jay, do you go out trying to meet people? Not anymore. Do you go to bars trying to meet women? No. Do you go to shows trying to meet people? No. Do you do dating apps? No. Why not? Are you not trying to meet anybody? No, it's not that. Because if I have an expectation, I'm going to go there. I'm going to be disappointed. If I go to a bar thinking I'm going to meet somebody and I think I'm talking to somebody, which has happened to me numerous fucking times. I've been talking to a woman at a bar and then a dude who is way more attractive than me comes up on the side and then all of a sudden her attention's averted. So my expectation was I was talking to her. Now I'm just disappointed. I'm depressed. If I release that expectation, if I go somewhere, I'm just going. It is what it is. I know for me personally, I know I'd have a good time anywhere. I know who I am. I know the light that I am. I have been telling people this for the longest now. I've learned in life I am a light to so many other people.
Mm-hmm.
I have lit up so many people's lives who have felt down in the dark and depressed and no path or to go. I have been that light. So I am that light when I am in rooms, when I am in parties, when I'm in organizations. It does not matter. Because I'm that light, I can just shine bright and eventually shine somewhere for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have to have expectations.
That's beautiful. I mean, I do think not having expectations is such a key. It's honestly a very spiritual lesson for people to learn for sure. Cause yeah, so much comes from expectation. I think also having faith, right? Like having faith, it doesn't have to be in God. It doesn't just like even if in yourself, have faith in yourself.
I have faith the size of a mustard
Yeah.
seed for everything.
And I think in the universe and that everything is really conspiring to help you, you know, and knowing that whether your relationship works, it's great. But if it doesn't work, you gotta trust that it's for a good reason.
Shouts out to Gabby Bernstein and The Universe Has Your Back. I have listened to her book numerous times. I've also listened to The Four Agreements several times.
Exactly.
I've listened to Asking It Is Given. I've listened to all these different books to help me train, on top of being in therapy, to train my mindset to understand, okay. And I'm a very spiritual dude. I consider myself a religious dude where I'm like, my faith has sustained me in good and bad. I was just going through a very, very tumultuous time personally that would have broken most people. But because of my faith, I stayed strong and steadfast. And that's why I sit with you here today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also just like let life be messy too, right? That's the fun. And also let yourself be messy because so much of it is like we're going to control ourselves in our relationships so nobody gets angry and nobody fights and nobody whatever. And I'm like, sometimes again, anger is a lesson. Anger is trying to show you something. It's trying to get you to set a boundary. I used to, when I was younger, in that abusive relationship, I was in a stage where I was like, oh no, positivity, always be positive, never get angry. And so I had no boundaries. I wouldn't get mad at him when all these things were happening because I thought that's not the right thing to do. You should not get angry. And then therapy is actually the one that taught me, hey, you have all these like quadrants. Your anger is like nothing. Like you need to actually start feeling angry.
And I realized cheating on the regular. You better be angry as shit.
But because I was like, okay, that's not I was trying to theorize how to get this person to be honest with me. And that was not, and then you know what ended up happening? When I found everything out, I snapped. Because this person had lied to me so much, whatever, and they weren't following what I said. In my head, I was like, well, I did all the right things. I did everything the textbook said I should do. And this person was still behaving this way. And then I snapped. You know, the only time he took me seriously is when I snapped and I took all his clothes and I threw it out in the streets of New York. That's the time he took me seriously. When was the time he started respecting me? That moment. When I said, get the fuck out of my house or I'm calling the cops. That was when that person took me seriously. But anger, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not a textbook emotion you should feel, but you're like, that's life. You're supposed to go through that stuff because it's all playing a part. So like, part of it is like, we got to stop trying to be perfect.
And then I think real quick, we're all supposed to go through the anger. I know some people are like, wait, I got to go through an angry and a terrible relationship. No, not saying that. But there's an emotion you're going to go. There are times your partner is going to piss you off.
Yeah, even mine right now pisses me off sometimes. We still fight. What are you talking about?
Because it wouldn't be, look, if you said we never fight, I'd be like, all right, both of y'all are either hot up, y'all weird, or y'all are dope the fuck up. Because, or you're avoiding something more so than anything. You're avoiding it. You're having this theoretical relationship versus what real life is.
Yeah, because there's so much shit. Listen, I am telling you, like, we are now, I think because of our age and we're mature, like you said, like my only advice to people would be don't try to like theorize your relationship, more build the toolkit.
Yes.
Build the toolkit because man, I lose it still to this day. I can't help it. I have a temper. I lose it. But now I lose it and I can bring myself back really fast.
But see, the fact that you know that and you understand that and acknowledge that, I think more people in general I know I have a temper that I have to calm down. I know, like, for instance, I'm dealing with a situation with a friend where I'm like, yo, you like to argue and be angry? I know how to deal with this. I just won't. I'll be quiet. I'll do my job and I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I'm like, I'm gonna let them argue by themselves. But if I need to argue, I'll argue. But I know how I am if I argue. I know how ramped up I get. I tell people all the time, y'all are lucky you're meeting this version of me.
I say that all the time too.
I tell people, you're lucky you're meeting this version of me.
Yeah.
The version of me even 10 years ago
Yeah.
is not a good dude. Because if I snap,
Mm-hmm.
I snap. If I get angry, I get angry.
Mm-hmm.
And 15 years ago, I'm liable to put my fist through a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I can openly admit that was then. Now, I know how to chill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Plus, also, I got shit to lose.
Yeah, it's true.
I got
It's
shit
true.
to lose.
But also, like, sometimes, again, all of that has its place, right?
Yes.
Like, we have a fairly healthy relationship, and this is, we know how to communicate and whatever. But there are times, a lot of times, we don't. And
It
and
happens.
yeah, but all of it brings you back, right?
Yeah.
It brings you back to like, oh, okay, all right, these are the things we have to work on, and it's just part of the human experience.
Yes.
And it makes us almost like, it reminds me, especially me, because he's much more of the calm one, I'm the feisty one. And for me, it reminds me that, hey, somebody loves me for all my faces, like the happy face and also the sad face and also the angry face and also the irritated face. Like yesterday, I was really sleepy and like really, really, I just didn't sleep well. And I was super just fucking irritated. And he was like, you're being irritated because you didn't sleep. And I was like, shut the fuck up right now. I didn't say shut the fuck up. I don't say that. But I just was like, just don't fucking, I just don't want to talk, right? I just don't want to talk. And then he was like, okay. And he like let me be. And then like 10 minutes later, my toolkit came out and I was like, all right, you're being a dick. Like, do you need to? And then I held his hand and I was like, hey, okay, sorry. And,
see, that's what I want, somebody who loves me. And I will say that. That's the thing I do want, that I'm hoping will come my way. Someone who will love me for the craziness, when I'm cracking jokes, when you pissed off, when I'm just pissed off, when I'm hurt, because I'm open and in tune with myself. Like, again, I used to not want to cry for shit, but I've had a lot of shit that's made me weep.
Yeah.
I want somebody who's gonna love all the multi-faces and multifacets that I am. And so the fact that you have somebody like that, and even when you know, like, all right, I'm being an asshole right now. Let me go chill out.
Yeah. You know what I used to say before I met him? I said, I want somebody who loves diarrhea me.
That's a lot of shit.
Because that is a lot of shit. And it's just, it's stuff you do not control.
Honest.
If somebody can love me in my most vulnerable time when I'm sharding in a bathroom, then I know that they fucking they love you.
They love you.
You know, because that's the worst version of you.
Worst time ever.
No. Jay, this was so fun.
This was a blast.
And really thoughtful and enlightening. And I think a lot of people will take a lot away from this.
I hope so. I think so. Thankful for you, excuse me, that you brought me on here. And this is a great conversation. I loved having it. I love being able to be vulnerable and open and honest.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
But Jay, how can everyone find you, your work, your shows, all of it?
Oh, man, I would say the best way is Instagram and TikTok, Mr. J Washington, MRJAY. You should know how to spell Washington, please. If you don't, it's something wrong with you in life. I have 2 podcasts right now, the Nancast, and you have the Before the Bell Wrestling podcast. I'm bringing back my 3rd one, the Mad Titan podcast, where I talk about all the Marvel, DC TV shows and movies. Check out my OnlyFans page, and this sounds so weird to say. OnlyFans.com/Mr. J Washington. I'm doing the OnlyFans taping coming up soon, and so I'll have a bunch of comedy stuff exclusive to OnlyFans. As of now, the subscription is free. If I do just put shirtless pics up, that'll be charged. I don't give a shit. If you will see all these chesticles posted.
Yes, of course. Get it.
So yeah, that's it.
Guys, please make sure you follow Jay. Go to his shows. He's really, really awesome. Very funny. I've done shows with you. You're hilarious.
Thank you so much.
And all his socials and everything, all the links will be in the show notes of this episode. So make sure you go there, follow him. Thank you again for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And guys, follow us. We're at Kinda Dating across the board. And listen, I already explained, I'm fucking complicated. So you'll find me. Just put Natasha Chandel somewhere on the internet and you'll see all my socials. Thank you, friends, for downloading this episode. If you like something you heard, screenshot it and tag us on social media. And finally, I know it seems tough out there, but just try. Till next time. I hope you guys enjoyed that video and check out our next one. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to this channel for more amazing dating, love, and relationship advice from me and so many expert guests. Follow us on socials. We're at Kinda Dating across the board. I'm Natasha Chandel, so you can find me too if you like. And join our newsletter on www.kindadating.com for lots of exclusives. See you soon.